My future son-in-law kept asking about the property line. Not once, not twice, every single time he visited our ranch in Colorado. Tyler would stand at the kitchen window, coffee in hand, staring past the open meadow toward the tree line where our land ended. "So where exactly does your property stop, Robert?" he'd ask casually, like it was harmless small talk. The first time, I didn't think much of it. The second time, I assumed he was just curious about country life. By the fifth time, a tight knot formed in my stomach. My daughter, Claire, always laughed it off. "He's just interested in ranch life, Dad. You know how city guys are." But I'd spent 40 years as an engineer before retiring. Patterns mattered, and Tyler's pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. I met him 6 months earlier when Claire brought him home for Thanksgiving. He was 33, clean-cut, an investment advisor from Denver. He said all the right things, praised my late wife Linda's cooking, asked thoughtful questions about the ranch, and showed polite, practiced charm. Almost too perfect. Linda had died 3 years ago. Cancer took her quickly, leaving me alone in a house that sat on 200 acres we'd bought 30 years earlier for next to nothing. Back then, it was scrubland. Now, as Denver expanded outward, developers circled like vultures. I'd received serious offers, life-changing money, but this ranch was Linda's dream. I couldn't sell her dream. Claire understood that. She'd grown up here, helped her mother plant the garden that now bloomed wildly every spring. After Linda passed, Claire visited every weekend, worried I was lonely. When she met Tyler at a networking event and started dating him, I was genuinely happy for her. After the disaster with her ex, she deserved stability. The engagement came fast. 4 months in, Tyler proposed at a high-end restaurant in Denver. Claire called me breathless with joy. I congratulated her, said all the right things. Still, I kept thinking about the property line. The wedding was scheduled for late September, right here on the ranch, where her mother had been happiest. Plans moved quickly. 200 guests, a planner. After watching Linda's wealthy cousins tear each other apart over inheritances, I learned early that money has a way of changing people, usually for the worse. It was safer to be the quiet neighbor no one paid attention to, but now Tyler was asking questions. The next morning, I called my attorney, Margaret. "I need you to look into someone for me," I said. "Tyler Hutchinson. He says he's an investment advisor in Denver." There was a brief pause. "Robert, is this about Claire's fiancé?" "Just a precaution." She sighed softly. "I'll have someone run a background check, but if you're worried, you should talk to Claire." "Not yet," I said. I could be wrong, but I hadn't been wrong before. My instincts had saved me more than once. 3 days later, Margaret called again. Her voice was serious. "We need to meet, not over the phone." I drove to her office in Boulder. She shut the door behind me and placed a folder on the desk. "Tyler Hutchinson is exactly who he claims to be," she said. "Licensed investment advisor, employed by Cordell Financial Group, clean record, no criminal history." I exhaled. Too soon. "But," she added, pulling out another document, "I asked our investigator to dig deeper. Tyler had been engaged twice before. Both women came from extremely wealthy families. Both engagements ended abruptly, each time shortly after Tyler gained access to family financial discussions. No lawsuits, no public accusations, just quiet breakups and non-disclosure agreements." My hands tightened around the folder. "Rebecca Thornton, daughter of a tech CEO. 5-month engagement, ended 2 weeks after Tyler attended a family meeting about the Thornton estate. Sarah Mitchell, daughter of a major real estate developer. 4-month engagement, ended shortly after her father revised his will. These families don't sue," Margaret said quietly. "They pay to make problems disappear." I didn't need to. Margaret's silence said enough. Margaret had advised me to speak with Claire directly. I couldn't. Not yet. Not without proof. Claire was glowing, caught up in wedding plans, dreaming out loud about her future. What if I was wrong? What if my suspicions were nothing more than paranoia and I destroyed her happiness for nothing? I needed certainty. That weekend, Tyler came by to help with wedding preparations. He parked his Audi in the driveway and walked up to the porch where I was sitting. "Robert, got a minute?" he asked. "Sure." He sat beside me, wearing an expression of thoughtful concern. "Look, I know this might be sensitive," he said, "but Claire and I have been talking about our future. Finances, planning, all that responsible adult stuff." He chuckled. "Occupational hazard. I'm an investment advisor." I nodded, saying nothing. "I was wondering," he continued casually, "have you thought about estate planning? Making sure everything's set up properly for Claire?" My blood ran cold, but I kept my face neutral. "I have a will." "That's great," he said quickly. "But with a property like this, you might consider a trust, much more tax efficient. I'd be happy to help, no charge. I mean, I'll be family." "I'll think about it," I said. "And Robert," he added gently, "at your age, it's also smart to think about long-term care. If something happens, who manages the ranch? This place is a lot for one person." There it was, the same script, the same careful phrasing Margaret had warned me about, the one he'd likely used on Rebecca's father and Sarah's. Plant the seed, offer help, gain access. I didn't know what came next, but I intended to find out. "You make a good point," I said slowly. "Why don't you and I sit down next week? You can walk me through these strategies." Tyler's eyes lit up. "Absolutely. I'll bring some materials. We can really optimize your situation." After he left, I called Margaret. "I need surveillance." "Robert." "He just asked about my estate planning and long-term care. He's positioning himself. I need to know what he's really planning." Margaret was silent for a moment. "I know a private investigator," she said finally, very discreet. She'd managed to place a recording device in Tyler's car during a routine service appointment at the dealership. It was legal, she assured me, technically classified as a maintenance sensor that happened to capture audio. The legal nuances could be sorted out later. I listened to the recording alone in my study. Tyler's voice came through first, relaxed and smug. "Yeah, I'm back at the ranch, playing the perfect future son-in-law. The old man has no idea." Another voice joined in, male, confident. "You sure about the value?" "Marcus, I've checked the county records 3 times, Tyler replied. 215 acres, bought in '94 for next to nothing. With Denver expanding this far out, we're talking at least $4 million, probably closer to 5 if we handle it right." Marcus whistled softly. "And the old guy?" "He's loaded," Tyler said. "Look at the place, free and clear. Retired 5 years, lives alone, no debt. He's probably sitting on a couple million in investments, easy. The daughter has no clue, thinks her dad's just a comfortable middle-class retiree." "So what's the play?" "I marry Claire in September," Tyler said calmly. "Spend the first year being the perfect husband, the devoted son-in-law. Get him to trust me. Maybe ease into financial power of attorney, just helping out. He lives alone. Things happen. A fall, an accident, cognitive decline." My stomach clenched. "Before you know it," Tyler continued, "he's in assisted care. I manage the finances. Claire inherits everything. We divorce before she realizes what happened. I walk away with half." Marcus laughed. "You're cold." "I'm practical," Tyler replied. "Rebecca was a waste. Her father caught on too fast. Sarah was better, but her old man locked everything in a trust. This one?" He chuckled. "This one's perfect. Small-town guy, no asset protection. It's like he's asking." Patricia installed tiny cameras across the ranch, hidden among fence posts, barns, and trees. Margaret drafted airtight legal protections that safeguarded both Claire and me, regardless of how things unfolded. And I played my role, the trusting, aging father-in-law. Tyler came to my study one afternoon with a leather briefcase and a confident smile. "All right, Robert," he said, spreading papers across my desk. "These documents will really streamline things. This power of attorney lets me help manage affairs if you ever need assistance. And this one updates your will, sets up a trust with Claire as the primary beneficiary. I'd act as trustee to ensure everything's handled properly." I scanned the pages slowly. "And this helps with taxes?" I asked. "Absolutely," he said smoothly. "You could save tens of thousands." I nodded. "You know, Tyler, I've been thinking. You're right, this place is becoming a lot for me. Maybe it is time to start making changes." His eyes gleamed. "I'm glad you're approaching this practically," he said. "But can I ask, why are you so curious about the property boundaries?" He didn't hesitate. "Long-term thinking," he said. "If Claire inherits the ranch, we might sell off parcels, keep the house and a few acres. No sense holding land we won't use. As her husband, I'd want to help her make smart financial decisions." I smiled. "Of course, family helps family." He left that day believing he'd won. I let him. The week before the wedding, Claire noticed my distraction. "Dad, are you okay?" she asked. "You've been quiet." "I've just been thinking about your mother," I said softly, wishing she could be here. Claire hugged me tightly. "I know, I miss her too, but I think she'd be happy for me. Tyler's wonderful." I wanted to tell her everything right then, but she needed to hear the truth herself, clearly, undeniably. Otherwise, she'd always wonder if I'd manipulated the outcome. "I'm sure she would be," I said, hating the lie as it left my mouth. The day before the wedding, Tyler's friend Marcus arrived. I recognized him immediately. I lifted my glass and smiled. The wedding day was perfect. Clear September skies, golden aspens, the mountains sharp against the blue horizon. Linda would have loved it. Guests filled the chairs spread across the lawn. The wooden arbor Claire had chosen stood draped in late summer flowers. Everything was exactly as it should be, just before it all came apart. I walked Claire down the makeshift aisle, her arm looped through mine, her mother's pearls resting at her throat. She was radiant, happy. Seeing her like that nearly broke me, knowing what was about to happen. "I love you, Dad," she whispered. "I love you too, sweetheart," I said softly. "Always." I took my seat in the front row as the ceremony began. The officiant spoke about love, trust, and lifelong commitment. Tyler stood at the altar in his tailored tuxedo, calm and confident, the picture of devotion. Then came the vows. Just as Tyler drew breath to say, "I do," Claire's hand shifted to her bouquet. From between the flowers, she pulled out a small, folded piece of paper and pressed it into my palm. Her eyes met mine, wide, wet with tears. I unfolded it. 3 words, written in her familiar handwriting. "Dad, help me." Everything stopped. I looked up at her. She was staring at Tyler now, her face drained of color. She wasn't nervous. She was terrified. I stood. "Stop," I said clearly. "Stop the ceremony." A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. Tyler turned sharply. "Robert, what is this?" I stepped closer to Claire, keeping my voice calm. "Claire, what's wrong?" She took a trembling breath, then the words spilled out. "I heard him," she said. "Last night, I went to his hotel room to surprise him, and I heard him talking to Marcus about what he planned to do." Her voice faltered. She swallowed hard. Tyler's face flushed red. "Claire, this is ridiculous. You're confused. You must have misheard. You said you'd make sure my dad had an accident after we were married," she said, her voice breaking. "You said once you had power of attorney." Patricia intercepted him in a blur of motion, bringing him down hard before he reached the road. She'd been waiting near the cars all along. The next hour dissolved into chaos. Guests were separated, statements were taken, whispers filled the air where vows were supposed to be spoken. Claire stood beside me, shaking, but safe, and for the first time all day, I knew I'd done the right thing. Tyler screamed as they led him away, about false accusations, ruined reputations, and lawsuits that would bury everyone involved. Marcus shouted too, though no one seemed to be listening. Claire collapsed into my arms, sobbing. Margaret arrived moments later, calm and prepared, carrying folders filled with recordings, transcripts, and evidence we'd gathered over weeks. Once everything was handed over, the police finally drove Tyler and Marcus away. The guests drifted off slowly. Some hugged us, others whispered, hungry for gossip. The caterers packed up a dinner no one would eat. As the sun dipped toward the mountains, Claire and I sat side by side on the porch steps, still dressed for a wedding that never happened. "I'm sorry, Dad," she said quietly. "I should have told you sooner. I've known for 2 days." I looked at her. "I heard them talking," she continued. "I froze. I didn't want it to be real. I kept telling myself I'd misunderstood, that there had to be an explanation." Her voice trembled. "So I kept going. The fittings, the rehearsal. I thought maybe I could pretend it wasn't happening." "Then why the note?" I asked gently. She wiped her eyes. "Because standing there, about to say I do, I realized I couldn't. I couldn't marry someone I didn't trust. I was terrified. Terrified I was wrong. Terrified I'd destroy my own wedding over a mistake." She exhaled shakily. "So I wrote the note and prayed you'd understand." I wrapped an arm around her. "I did." She looked up at me. "You did?" "I suspected. I had him investigated. I had recordings. I was planning to expose him today, even if you hadn't handed me that note." Her eyes widened. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you wouldn't have believed me," I said softly. "You would have thought I was trying to control your life. You needed to see the truth on your own. I was just here to catch you when you did." She rested her head against my shoulder. "I feel so stupid." "Your Tyler and Marcus will likely face charges. You'll give your statement, we'll return gifts, cancel vendors, and apologize to guests. And then," I squeezed her shoulder, "life goes on." We sat quietly for a while. Then she asked, almost shyly, "Dad, how rich are you?" I laughed. "Why?" "Because Tyler kept saying you were loaded. I always thought we were just comfortable." "Your mother and I bought this ranch for $80,000 in 1994, I said. "It's worth about $4 million now." Claire blinked. $4 million? "That's just the land," I added. She shook her head, then smiled faintly. "Mom would have loved how this turned out." I looked out at the mountains, glowing in the last light of day. "Yes," I said, "she would have." "I also hold several patents for my engineering work," I continued. "They pay ongoing royalties. I've invested carefully for the last 30 years. All told, my assets are around $8 million. Claire's jaw dropped. $8 million, she repeated? "And you drive that old truck and wear clothes from Walmart?" I smiled. "Money never impressed me, Claire. Your mother and I both grew up poor. We saw what money could do to families, how it could turn love into resentment and siblings into enemies. We made a decision early on to live modestly, enjoy what we had, and never let wealth become our identity." I looked out toward the fields. "I wanted you to grow up normal, not as a rich kid who thought she was better than anyone else." She listened quietly as I went on. "Your inheritance is already in a trust. It only takes effect when I'm gone. You'll be comfortable, but it's structured so no spouse can touch it without your explicit consent. I set that up years ago, after watching what your Aunt Linda went through in her divorce. I wanted you protected." Claire was silent for a long time. Then she said softly, "I wish Mom were here." "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." 3 months later, Tyler and Marcus were formally charged: conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted financial exploitation of an at-risk adult, and several related offenses. Tyler accepted a plea deal. Claire moved back to the ranch for a while. She went to therapy. She grieved, not just the betrayal, but the future she thought she was building. Slowly, she rebuilt herself. Eventually, she began dating again. More cautious now, a little sadder, but much wiser. As for me, I stayed right where I was. Same ranch house, same old truck, same flannel shirts. But I did make one change. I expanded Linda's garden. planted new roses, added a stone bench with her name carved into it. Some evenings, Claire and I sit there watching the sun sink behind the mountains. I tell her stories about her mother, about a woman who believed in buying land instead of fancy cars, in planting gardens instead of collecting jewelry, in building a life instead of maintaining an image. One evening, Claire asked, "Dad, do you ever regret not being more open about the money? If I'd known, maybe I would have been more suspicious of Tyler." "Maybe," I said, "or maybe you would have attracted more Tylers, people wondering if everyone who cared about you was really after your inheritance." I looked at her. "The way we did it, you got to be yourself. You made your own choices, and when things went wrong, you had the strength to ask for help. That's worth more than any amount of money." She leaned against me. "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, sweetheart." The sun dipped below the mountains, painting the sky in orange and purple. Somewhere in the meadow, a bird called. Linda's garden bloomed, wild and beautiful, exactly as she'd wanted. Money can't buy moments like that, but it can buy the security to enjoy them without fear. That's the real value of wealth. Not what it displays, but what it protects. And I would protect my daughter with every dollar I had, for as long as I lived.